What is linked data is a question I get asked in various times, and it depends, of course, who you're speaking to, what answer you give. I've heard it called smart data by some people, although they didn't know they were talking about linked data, but they were. I've heard people talking about, it's really good. We have all this data about our city, and because we're using identifiers for all the different buildings and all the different streets, that means that we can do clever stuff with it. That's linked data, using identifiers, using common identifiers for things. There's the formal definition of linked data, which is about using HTTP URIs as identifiers for things, and we can go on about what that means. But it's, in terms of the philosophy of it, it's data at web scale. It's data using the web as the database, if you like, rather than as a way of shipping a file from here to there, which is how a lot of data portals use it. It is a way of actually using the infrastructure of the web to convey data from one place to another, to allow people to contribute data in a way that makes sense, and allow people to extract from the web whatever data they want. It's intelligent. That intelligence is built into the data itself, and it means that if you are performing a task in which data is important, whether it's your own or somebody else's, generally speaking, it means you can do that task better, you can do it more efficiently, you can do it quicker, and when changes come along, you can do it a lot cheaper. Why is linked data important? Because of its power. Because if your job is to provide information such as government resource information, if you're providing data that says this is a list of all the companies that exist in Greece, this is a list of all the wildlife species available in this particular national park, that is an authoritative list that you can publish. And linked data provides a way of making that available in multiple technical formats. Linked data is far more technology neutral, technology agnostic than people imagine. It's a way of providing that information in a way that other people can take that information and use in a way that they see fit. It's particularly useful if you already are in a network of partners who use that data themselves. So it's important for that. It's important for simply the options that it opens up. Again, it depends what task you're trying to do. If your aim is to do something relatively simple, like, say, this particular Greek island spent this much public money on that company and this much public money with that company. If you're reporting on financial data like that, then linked data can be really useful if you're doing something as sophisticated as the public spending activity that we're learning about here in Athens today. But if you just want to simply show somebody a pretty picture, if you want to show somebody a graph of something, then actually you don't necessarily need linked data. But it's powerful, it's important because of the ability to extend it, the ability to make inferences, the ability to make connections, and the ability to recognize that the public spending going on in one place is significantly different from the public spending in another, and a machine can make those deductions and prove things to you in a way that, of course, is possible with other technologies. It's just a bit more difficult. So where are we now with linked data? I've just been working on a study which is about to come out. It'll be published by the European Commission. I worked on it with other people. It wasn't, in other words, it wasn't a solo effort. But we spoke to a number of users of linked data within the public sector, and it was very, very interesting indeed, because the questions that we were asking were based on a particular view of the world. And the view of the world is perfectly understandable. It actually comes from my boss Tim Berners-Lee's 5 stars of linked open data, which begin with, number 1, put it on the web in any format, it doesn't matter. Number 2, put it on the web in some sort of structured way. Number 3 is put it in a structured way in a non-proprietary format. Number 4 is put it in RDF, and number 5 is to use RDF and link to other things. So that gives you the idea that there is this progression of importance from 1 star, the most important thing being it's under an open license and you can do what you like with it, through to 5-star data, which is this wonderful, high value, carefully curated, trusted data, and that therefore application developers, outside users of that data, will automatically use the 5-star data if they can, and they'll demand the 5-star data rather than the 4, 3, 2, 1-star data. So all the questions we had in the study we started were sort of based on that. And we were asked to, okay, speak to people who publish the data and then go out and find the application developers who use that 5-star data and show us how much money they're making. Nadia Crow stands up and tells you how many billions of euros there are in this new oil-based economy that is data. And we're all going to become multi-billionaires overnight. And actually that isn't quite what's happening. There are some very important data-driven businesses, and there are very successful data-driven businesses, but they're not making more money when they're using 5-star data than they would be making if they're using CSVs, 3-star data. So, and it's because the reason people are using linked data is because it suits their own purpose. It's good for them internally. It allows them to do what they want to do in managing their data for their own ends. It allows them in the public sector to fulfill their public task in a better way than they could do otherwise. And that is why they use the 5-star the 5-star linked data approach, because it suits them. So to take an example, one of the websites, one of the web services, if you like, that is shown as an absolute copper bottom perfect example of how to do it is legislation.gov.uk. If you haven't seen legislation.gov.uk, take a look at it. The data itself, the actual legislation, that is every piece of legislation passed in the British Isles since 1267, is encoded in XML. The metadata for it is encoded in RDF. And they built this, it's Jenny Tennyson, John Sheridan and others built this system that was an API, a huge system based on linked data for the metadata, XML for the data itself, and then built a service on top of it. And I interviewed John Sheridan and said, so why did you do that? Why did you use linked data? And his answer was, well, because it's the only technology that comes anywhere close to what we wanted to do. We want to be able to say, this piece of legislation here supersedes that one. This piece of legislation is in force here. It was passed on this date. The only way you can make that kind of statement is using a linked data approach. And so, was there a business case to use linked data for legislation.gov.uk? The business case for that was like the business case for using electricity. It's kind of useful if you want to do that. So linked data has a very important, very powerful place. But that place should be seen more in terms of helping the person themselves. And if outside users want to use the data, of course they can. That data is available and can be used by other people, but the primary driver that people use it, whether it's legislation.gov.uk or the Deutsche National Bibliothek or the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization or the BBC or whoever it is, all of them, without exception, the reason they use linked data is because it's right for them.